What kind of relationship were you all in now?
It's supposed to be in the one night stand,
You said
Your Honor.
something to do.
Something to do, like just a flame.
Okay, it started off as just a casual fling.
Yes.
Do you remember the day she told you she was pregnant? Oh, I think this is it. I think I'm gonna have him. What do you do from that point? Get in a car?
Right.
Get in a taxi?
That car.
So then at that point, why wasn't he called?
This man called me and said, you can't even sing. You sing
got
too
mad
loud.
about that?
Long as I sure did get mad. He told me I couldn't sing and I'm just trying to sing for the God.
Wow, this never ends.
Mr. Burrage felt he was being played for a fool by the woman he loved. He dragged Ms. Stephanies to court to take his name out of the birth certificate because he was very certain he wasn't and couldn't be the father of her child. Ms. Stephanies was tired of all the embarrassment Mr. Burrage was dropping on her table. All she wanted to do was prove the child was his.
Mr. Barrage, you've dragged Ms. Stephens to court because you say you're being played for a fool. And when today's DNA results prove that you are not her daughter, Phelan's father, you demand that your name be removed from her birth certificate and you be reimbursed for the past 8 months of child care expenses. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Burrage started his story by letting the judge know he never had his father sign his birth certificate, and all he wanted to do was be a good guy to Ms. Stephanies' baby. Even though he had his doubts, he still went on to put his signature on the birth certificate.
I want to be a good guy and do the right thing by signing the birth certificate because on my birth certificate, my father didn't sign my name.
At the point that you signed the birth certificate, did you have doubt?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you did it anyway?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand by doing so that you would now be the legal father of this child?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's the way the court would acknowledge you.
Yes,
You
Your Honor.
are the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you don't believe you're the biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
As you would expect, Mr. Burrage and Ms. Stephanies got into an argument about how they didn't trust each other. Ms. Stephanies couldn't understand why a man she knew was there throughout the pregnancy process was starting to deny her baby. I mean, it's not like she forced him to sign the birth certificate. He did it on his own.
You was there, you signed the birth certificate, cut the umbilical cord. I didn't force you to do anything. You chose to do that willingly because you felt obviously that she was your child.
That because I was having unprotected sex with you, and it's a slight possibility that the child might have been mine. But I was with my girl for 2 years, and I just feel like you was sleeping with this guy would make you think he wasn't a father. You was having unprotected with him.
So wait, let me understand this. What kind of relationship were you all in now?
It's supposed to be in the one night stand,
You said
Your Honor.
something to do.
The judge had to cut into their pointless argument and try to understand what kind of relationship they had. For Ms. Stephanies, she felt she was in a really committed relationship with him. But that wasn't the case for Mr. Burrage. He felt it was just a fling and claimed he already had a girlfriend.
Fernando, we was together all the time. It wasn't no one night stand. We was together consistently every day. My mom was there with my
together all the
kids.
time.
Did you think you all were in a relationship?
I didn't think we were in a relationship, but I thought it was more because I knew that my intentions was to make it more than what it was.
But you knew I had another girl, and you also said this to me, pillow talking, like you gonna try to take me away from my girl. You know what I'm saying? Trying to set me up, trying to trap me.
Mr. Burrage didn't waste any time bringing out the cards where he claimed Ms. Stephanies was messing with other guys he didn't know of. He claimed he would constantly see multiple guys in his neighborhood bragging about how they kicked it in bed with Ms. Stephanies, and he just couldn't believe the child was his.
Yes, Your Honor, because I didn't know how many guys she slept with. Guys coming out the blue in the neighborhood where I stay, just come out the blue. I hit that, 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 I hit that.
He's going off what other people say, and he's going off what other people saying. Ask him, does he know anything that's for sure? Not what people are saying.
Mr. Barrage, what do you know for sure? Do you have any proof of this?
You could tell Mr. Burrage wanted nothing to do with her baby. He wasn't only accusing her of being with several other men, apparently. He had proof to back up his accusations. But when he stood up to show the judge his proof, they were nothing of value. Trust me.
The other guy has light eyes.
Yes, Your Honor. And for one, Your Honor,
Me and my
I'm
mom
brown
both
skinned, Your
have
Honor.
light brown eyes.
Hey, the guy got light-skinned complexion, Your Honor.
So these are all the factors you believe that add up so that you're not Phelan's father.
Yes, Your Honor. And Your Honor, people say the baby looked just like him, Your Honor.
People say, you see, he keep bringing
What
up
have people told you?
Everything was going really well for them when the baby was initially born. Ms. Stephanies could definitely remember the good times. But that changed when they got into a heated argument in front of Ms. Stephanies' family. He felt disrespected, and from that day on, he refused to take care of the child till he got a DNA test done.
All is a joy. We go to my mom's house, we're celebrating. So we're drinking. Me and Mr. Barrage ended up getting into an argument. I seen some text messages in his phone from another female, so I confronted him on that. He got this big thing. I guess he thought I tried to front in front of my family, front him off in front of my family. So he just went off, said, oh, from day one, she's not my baby and I want a DNA test.
Well, all eyes were now looking at Mr. Burrage. Ms. Stephanies dropped a truth bomb that shocked even the judge. She said, aside from the baby in question, she was also 5 months pregnant with another baby that belonged to Mr. Burrage. Oh, trust me, the case took a different turn.
I had a bad past. I done had several women, you know, before her, and she didn't have several men. And I didn't try to judge that against her, but I'm steady hearing. And it just put back in my head.
It's a bag up
How
what
you
he
gonna
said.
turn-
My mother or my biological
save her.
mother
She don't
or
wanna be
father
saved,
didn't raise
Your
me.
Honor.
I was a foster child. My biological mom wasn't in my life, nor my father. I didn't meet him till I was 12.
Ms. Stephanie's sister also claimed that she was positive. The baby belonged to Mr. Burrage. She said she knew her sister like the back of her hand, and if she had been messing with someone else, she would definitely know, but that wasn't the case.
You know,
sure.
you wasn't up in the room sleeping with us.
I be my sister every day. I know my sister like the back of my own hand. If she was messing with any boy, she'd confide in me. I feel that Fernando is insecure with himself. He listens to what everybody telling him. The guys know that he's insecure with himself because he's not attractive. So they get in his head and say, "Oh, that is. Yeah, the baby look just like me. The baby looks just like me."
The moment of truth was finally here. It's time to see what the future holds for them. Would Mr. Burrage end up being the father, or has Ms. Stephanie's been lying all this while? Well, let's find out.
Mr. Barrage, you are her father.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is it
I tell him all the time, misery loves company. Of course, don't nobody want to see you happy.
There was so much at stake in this case, believe me. As he claimed, Mr. Horn had a wild weekend a couple of decades ago, but now finds himself denying a son that resulted from his adventurous weekend with Ms. Mannion. Ms. Mannion wasn't denying that she also remembers the wild weekend, but she is beyond certain the child belongs to Mr. Horn.
Mr. Horn, you had a wild weekend 3 decades ago and now find yourself in court to prove that you are not the biological father of Ms. Mannion's 29-year-old son, Andrew. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You will meet him for the very first time in a moment, but say today's DNA test will prove you are not his dad.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, 5 years ago, Mr. Horn was at work when he received one of the most shocking phone calls from a family member of his. The person asked him if he remembered Ms. Mannion's name, but he said he was pretty young at the time and his lifestyle was nothing to write home about, so remembering her name was nearly impossible.
I was at work. I got a phone call from a family member who never calls me at work. Asked me if I remembered a certain name, which was her name, and I was like, you know how I was back then. I really don't have a clue who you're talking about. And so she mentioned a couple other names, and that kind of rung a bell, and told me that she got a phone call from Mr. Haight saying that I might be his father.
Well, after getting the shocking news that he might have a son, he picked up his phone and told her son that his mother had been with several men and there was no way he could be his father. Well, Ms. Mannion dropped her own truth bomb, and trust me, it was heavy.
He is the father because I was in another relationship and a paternity test did come out that the other guy was not the father. And there was only 2 people that I was with during that time.
So there were 2 people you were with, and you said you had a DNA test on the other one, and so you feel like it has to be Mr. Horn from this point.
Judge Lauren didn't have the time to listen to their rants. Now she wanted to know what kind of relationship they had and how they got themselves into such a messy situation with a child not knowing his father. Well, the story begins.
He showed up. I didn't really have a clue who she was. We started chatting. She kept coming on to me.
That is a
found
lie.
out she was a friend of mine's, girlfriend or dating. They were dating or whatever. He was in California. So she kept coming on to me. The more we drank, I drank quite a bit. Passed out. I woke up to the best alarm clock ever.
Oh,
And it was
no,
kinda on
no. I do not
yeah.
do that kind of stuff.
That was beyond shocking to hear. Mr. Horn was then asked if he ever got to know that Ms. Mannion was ever pregnant. He claimed that information was only made available to him after she had given birth to her son, but they never had a romantic relationship.
I found out that she was pregnant after she had the child. I ran into the dude that she was dating at the time. He said he took a DNA test, but he never seen the results, so therefore he could not be the father. I call it like I see it, she's a hoe.
Okay.
So there's no way I could be the dad.
Okay.
We gotta come up with a new word. Just work with me here.
All right.
But there was a plot twist here. Ms. Mannion claimed that when she initially gave birth, she didn't think Mr. Horn was the father. She had a DNA test done on the man she believed was the father, but she never saw the results. So how does she know that guy isn't the father? I'm speechless.
You thought someone else was the father. You had him take a DNA test, but you never saw the results. Did you ever see Mr. Horn after that, Miss Mannion?
No, I had no way to get a hold of him. All I know is my mother told me that he contacted them and even left his name, his phone number for when my child gets older to contact them.
Guess what? Ms. Mannion's son was in the courtroom. As you would expect, Judge Lauren asked him to come in, as she intended to find the truth and try to figure out who was lying in her courtroom. Oh, trust me, a lot of lies were told.
Mother and father, so you called them mom and dad.
Correct.
Then when you went to live with your mother, she was married, and so then you thought your stepdad was your dad.
Correct.
And then when they broke up, that's when you realized he was not your father either.
That is correct.
What did your mother tell you at that point?
I asked her who he was, and she gave me the name Kevin Horn the very first time.
The first time you asked?
The first time I asked.
And she had absolutely no doubt in her mind.
Well, the tables were turning, and it was starting to look like Ms. Mannion had been the one lying in the courtroom after all. She never told her son that there was a possibility that another man could be his father. He didn't even get to see his birth certificate until he was 18 years of age.
When I went to get a birth certificate for an ID, it was the first time I found out that.
You saw your birth certificate for the first time, how old?
17, 18.
So when you went to get your ID was the first time you ever seen your birth certificate?
Correct.
And when you looked at the name of the father listed on there,
It
you didn't know
wasn't Kevin Horn.
It wasn't Kevin Horn. Did you ask your mother?
I did.
You could see in her son's eyes that he was tired of not knowing the identity of his biological father. All he was hoping and praying for in that courtroom was that Mr. Horn turned out to be his real father, and his search had finally come to an end.
Any proof?
Yeah, you're right.
So then that leaves him in a position where he can't fully accept that truth. Even if it is true, he can't fully accept it because he can't see the paperwork.
I understand.
Okay, Mr. Haight, what are you hoping for today?
I'm hoping that I actually have found my father.
So since you were 12 years old, you've been carrying the name Kevin Horn in the back of your mind.
Correct.
Well, it's time we brought the cartoons down on this plot twist, wouldn't you say? It was time to find out the truth and know if the craziness was all worth it. The moment of truth is here, people. Brace yourselves for the results.
Mr. Horn, you are his father.
I told you. I told you.
We got this done, right?
Yeah.
Ms. McIntyre and her mother were absolutely certain that Mr. Wilson was her baby's biological father. She claimed the only reason he wasn't accepting the baby was because he wanted to live a single life. But Mr. Wilson had more than enough proof to make him certain he couldn't be the father.
Ms. McIntyre, you and your mother stand before me claiming that you are 100% certain that Mr. Wilson is your 3-year-old son, Jashawn's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
You say the only reason he has doubt is because he wants to live the single life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Wilson, you say you have more evidence than this court has ever seen before.
Their relationship started on Facebook, and Ms. McIntyre was already in love with this young man. In no time, their conversation got pretty intense, and Mr. Wilson was already telling her he would give her the world. Well, that never really happens now, does it?
Talking on Facebook, he shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. He said he was gonna take care of me and my daughter.
On Facebook, he was already gonna take care of you and your daughter?
Yeah, he sold me a dream.
You had never met?
No, we never met before.
Okay.
So we finally wanted to meet up, and when he got off the bus, I seen this. He catfished me. I didn't expect this.
As I said, it was all too good to be true. After having their cute conversations on Facebook, it was finally time for them to meet in person. When they finally did, Ms. McIntyre couldn't believe what she saw. She claimed she had been catfished.
I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to see this, but I got this.
Is it a totally different picture, or is it just good angles?
It's good angles.
What can I show
or
it to you?
something, I don't know.
Did you try to catfish her, Mr. Wilson?
No, lies, all the way around. I'm sexy, why I need to catfish somebody?
Right.
Is you serious? Okay, lies,
Really?
really. You saw what you saw.
Mr. Wilson was being completely honest in the courtroom. Well, at least so he claimed. He said he wasn't in the courtroom to deny the child and say he wasn't the father, but he just had doubts and he needed to be sure he wasn't taking someone else's child, which, if you ask me, makes a lot of sense. But where are these doubts coming from?
To say I'm denying my kid, but at the
Yes.
same time too, Miss McIntyre, yeah, kind of ratchet at the same time.
When you say kind of ratchet, are you indicating or inferring that she sleeps around?
Yes, yes, Sean.
I don't believe that he's saying that. This guy is full of it.
So, Ms. McIntyre, how certain are you that
100%
Mr. Wilson is Jashawn's father?
100% sure.
Jumping right in after Ms. McIntyre gave birth, she had her baby quite well, and all right, but the question now was, did she tell Mr. Wilson she had a baby? She claimed she did, but Mr. Wilson slammed back at her and said she never reached out to him at all.
Did you tell Mr. Wilson?
Nope. Nope, not until after the fact. They claim that they didn't
Are
have
you
no way.
serious?
They claimed they didn't have no way of getting in contact with me. They called me after the fact he was conceived. I wasn't at the hospital.
No, he was not
none
at
of
the
that.
hospital because
none of that, because they didn't want me to be there.
He didn't have.
Period.
Why wouldn't we want him to be there?
Period, because she don't like me, just like I don't like her.
He didn't have a
So
ride.
she
That
don't
was
meet
his
up.
excuse.
Well, it was from argument to the next with Ms. McIntyre, her mom, and Mr. Wilson wanting to rip out their throats. Mr. Wilson's name was never put on the child's birth certificate because he never made it to the hospital, but since the baby came into the world, he hasn't done a single thing.
Hasn't done anything for him?
Not to my knowledge.
And believe it or not, if this baby not mine, I'm not gonna.
But
do
it
nothing.
is yours.
I'm not.
But it is yours.
You haven't did anything.
I got a 1-year-old daughter. I take care of faithfully.
You never
That's the
did
thing. I'm
anything
not.
anyway.
It is yours.
So I want to understand your doubt, Mr. Wilson. I want to understand. Why do you doubt Jay Sean is your biological son?
He was ready to spill everything he believed to be true. Mr. Wilson claimed that the proof that made him feel the baby wasn't his was the fact that he kept getting texts from people he knew, saying that Ms. McIntyre had been sleeping with several other men.
Okay, supposedly, I got texts that somebody that I personally knew face to face was messing around with Miss McIntyre around the same time I was messing around with Miss McIntyre.
So do you have that proof here?
Okay, then, hold on, not
Do you
only
have that proof here?
Where's
No.
Not only
No.
that, though. My thing is this, not only that, I have
Where's
called
the
Miss
text?
McIntyre in her
Where's
phone
the text?
a couple of times.
Well, he did let the cat out of the box, and he sure didn't feel bad for it. He claimed after he found out Ms. McIntyre had been cheating on him, he went on what I would like to call a cheating spree. Oh, he was sleeping with everybody and anybody he could find.
So yeah, I was hurt. So I went out there, I was super cheating. You know what I'm saying? I served.
Yeah.
Super
When
cheating.
you come back,
That's first.
I was super cheating.
With
I
two
was-
transies, right?
I was
That day when I was
super
asleep,
cheating.
When I was
You feel
sleeping,
me?
huh? You come
I
back
was
with two
super,
transies, right?
super sleep. I was cheating
Yeah, you
with
can't hear
everybody
that. You can't
and
hear that.
anybody. To be honest with you, I'm gonna be real with you. Because at the point, I'm like, all right,
You
this
cheat on me with who,
relationship ain't not
Ja'Cory?
going nowhere.
Because super cheating.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Wilson and Ms. McIntyre. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready, paternity folks.
You are his father.
Told you. Told
That's all
you.
I needed to know.
So you ought to be ashamed.
That's all I needed to know.
You ought to be ashamed.
I needed to know that. That's my
Mr.
thing.
Charisma.
I needed to know that.
Hold on. We starting off wrong. You got the clarity you needed, and Miss McIntyre and Mom,
You're
you
right,
said
John.
you wanted your son to know his father.
He certainly looked angry and was not in that courtroom to joke around. Mr. Burks was in court to prove to everyone that the daughter he raised for 30 years was no longer his child. As if that wasn't crazy enough, he wanted to collect more than $26,000 of the money he paid as child support all the years of Ms. Brown's life.
Claimed to be more than $26,000 in debt due to child support for the defendant, Ms. Brown, who you say is definitely not your biological daughter. You are here to prove that in court so you can return home and get the debt erased from your record. Ms. Brown, you state that for 30 years you've known only one man to be your father, and you are devastated that he is now claiming you are not his biological daughter.
Ms. Brown was beyond hurt and disappointed by her father. I mean, who wouldn't be? A man who raised you all your life wakes up one morning and says he is no longer your father. The big question then stands. What changed that made Mr. Burks deny being her biological father all of a sudden?
30 years old. 30 years old. And I have to deal with this, and then he brings up talking about it was a one-night stand with my mom and all that kind of stuff like that. It wasn't no one-night stand. He had a relationship with her, and he know it. You know it. It hurts me so much, and I have a lot of pain. It's ridiculous to me. I'm just hurt. I'm just hurt inside. I really am.
All your life, you've known him to be your father.
Mr. Burks gets down to how he met Ms. Brown's mom and how he was trying to protect his military career. Oh, and by the way, he was married when he had the affair. In his defense, his career and marriage meant a lot to him, and he wasn't ready to destroy them.
You didn't.
Okay.
Y'all had a
Okay.
relationship. Yeah, they had a relationship.
I didn't have no relationship.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you
You wasn't
did.
there. How you know?
You wanted to
You
marry
wasn't
her
even there.
because she told me.
I
She
know
ain't gonna
for a
lie.
fact
She's
because
not gonna lie.
I dropped her
She's
off
not
on
gonna
at
lie.
the house
She's
and
not
left.
Hold
gonna
on,
lie.
Miss Brown, let me hear what he's saying. And so, did you see her again?
Maybe.
Mr. Bucks was firm on his claim. All right, trust me, his name wasn't even on Ms. Brown's birth certificate to begin with. So how did he then become the father? Apparently, the affair he tried to hide from his wife resulted in a baby. Since he was not around, Ms. Brown's mother had a court case in which they pronounced Mr. Burks as the father.
There is an order establishing the parent-child relationship, and you are responsible for child support.
Yeah.
So, at some point, did you acknowledge paternity, or was there a court case that you didn't show up?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what happened.
So
I was
you're
in the
named the
military. I
father
was
by
away.
default.
I was away. They had the court without me even being there. They had already been to court, determined I was behind a real rich of $40,000. I'm thinking, man, look at here. How am I gonna pay $40,000 all these years?
His stories were starting to sound a little too different. After a while, first, he said he didn't want anybody to find out about the baby because he wanted to protect his family and military career. But again, he accepted the child and decided he was going to pay child support. Something just wasn't right with his story.
Because, I wanted to keep it hush-hush. I wanted to deal with it myself. I wanted to make sure I went to her mother, I gave her money, I bought diapers and everything.
So basically, you didn't want the fact that you had cheated on your wife to come out.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, okay. But you never accepted deep down that she was your biological daughter.
Right.
Here's a news flash. Their relationship wasn't always this toxic, trust me. There were times when they bonded and things seemed to be pretty okay at the time. All that soon came to change when Mr. Burks found out Ms. Brown was attracted to the female gender. He couldn't stand the fact that she was a lesbian.
He lived his life as a pastor, all that stuff like that. He didn't like it. He talked bad to me. He was ugly on the phone. When he found that out, he was very disrespectful. And ever since that day, it's like we have a connection. Every time he get mad, something I tell him, he'll call me. He's a negative person. He expect me to call him and blow his phone up. I'm not gonna do that because every time I talk to him, it's always drama.
The big question in everyone's minds is very straightforward. Was he denying her because he wasn't her father? Or was he denying her because he did not approve of her attraction to women? It's been one hell of a battle with Mr. Burks and Ms. Brown. Let's see if they are related.
Mr. Burks, you are the father.
See, I told you, and you sat up there and do me like this. That what you gonna do? See, it's all about my life now.
You're not the first man, nor the last man or last parent to have a child that's just a firecracker. There's something in the way you approach